Welcome, everybody, to Booth Staff and what to do and not to do at the show. And I'm Cindy Zulsdorf here with my friend and guest expert, Steve Smedberg. Hey, Steve.
Hey Cindy, how are you?
Glad to see you. Always good to see you. We're both from Wisconsin, so we got that going on for us, right?
Right.
All
Yep,
right. So,
I've come and gone and I'm back.
no, Lambeau Field, you're right there.
That's right.
Mm. So today, in the next 30 minutes, or we're going to keep it super short because we know you're all prepping for NAB or whatever event you're headed off to. We're going to go over some things that you may totally know and some new things and new approaches. So we're going to get into what to do at the show, what not to do. And even if you know what to do, you probably have a coworker who could benefit from this. So as we go through, maybe keep a checklist. We can send you a summary afterward as well. Let's just get right into it, Steve. The first thing to talk about is body language. And you and I were chatting about this yesterday, and
Right.
you had a great story and tip. Tell us about that body language thing.
Well, before I get to that, I think it's dependent on um, the concept that your body language needs to be welcoming. When the whole point of spending all this money and time and effort to get to the trade show is to welcome your clients into the booth, into conversations, welcome new people, all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that we all do without realizing it at all is give off seriously bad vibes with bad body language. And we don't do it intentionally, but there are so many postures that seem unwelcoming. You can have your arms crossed against your chest, or you can be like this, or God forbid, you're looking at your phone. There's 150,000 different things that you can do with the way that you present yourself inadvertently that can turn people off. Um, and I went to a seminar myself on trade shows many years back. And my takeaway from that, the nugget that I got out of that, had to do with what's the source of most of this bad body language. And it's what you're doing with your hands. And so if you find me at a trade show, I think there is a 90 to 95% chance you'll find me with a pen in my hand. And I dropped my prop, and so
I've got my
I
pen.
won't go, yeah,
I'm
right.
propping
So
for
I
you.
won't go out of the frame. But when you have a pen, I will be playing with it. It'll be in my
Yeah.
hands. Whatever it is, if it's my AirPod case. Sometimes if I'm in Las Vegas, it's a poker chip. There are all kinds of things that I have, but I have something in my hands that I can. It's a what did the kids had about 10 years ago? They called them the fidget spinners, right? It's essentially a fidget spinner, but it's something to give you a thing to do with your hands. And when you have your hands occupied, you aren't doing this, you aren't putting them behind your back, you aren't looking at your phone, you're not giving off all that bad energy. And instead, you're saying, you're
Nice.
open for conversation.
Nice. So that's good. Pen. And I'm going to keep it moving along so we hit our 30 minutes or less here. I wanted to mention about clustering. It kind of fits in there. You've been in a booth where you got three booth staff clustering in together. Don't do it. And it's just a good reminder because if you've been at the show before, you already know this. And I see some of you on there. You've done a ton of shows, but there's other people who won't know. And so when you're just talking with your coworkers who are new at the show, or maybe not so new, remind them not to cluster in a way that's excluding people from coming in and having that conversation with you.
Do you have time for a 30-second little
Yes.
aside? So one of my
Yes.
favorite Lily Tomlin jokes, and this is before cell phones and earpods, AirPods, and that sort of thing, is she just wished that all the people that wandered the streets of New York um, talking to themselves could get paired up so it looked like they were having a conversation. And I think when it comes to clustering in the booth, it's okay if you want to have a couple side conversations, everybody spread around, make it
Nice.
look like things are
Yes.
happening in the booth.
Yes. Right. Two people
Pair
here,
them
two
up,
people
have a
here.
conversation here,
You're
a
still
couple,
keeping an
yeah,
eye.
yeah, but you're
Perfect.
not like standing around the trash can or the reception desk eating mints.
Bring mints. That's on the list too. So
I know
bring
I
enough
skipped
mints for
ahead,
your
sorry.
staff. Yes, and your coworkers, so you've got that. I love that. I want to jump into a little bit of a different one, and this is the purpose. We've got two kind of viewpoints, two POVs on this to think about. And the first one is why are you at the show? Captain Obvious. So why do people go to the show? To get leads, to get to see existing customers, to get new leads. So that's why we're at the show, right, Steve? We want to
Right.
get new people.
Right. I mean, it's essential. You need to decide before you get there what the point is for you, what you're trying to accomplish, right?
When I go to a show, I don't have a booth these days right now. Oh, I am actually working in one of the booths at NAB this year,
Oh, great. Yeah.
doing some
Yeah.
demos and
Exciting.
stuff. But anyway, whatever it is, whether I'm working on the booth or cruising around seeing people who I work with, generally my next goal is to like, hey, let's get on a call and chat next week, or can I send you something that's helpful? So I'm looking to take the next step in a conversation if it's helpful with the person. If not, I'm looking to make friends and say hello. So that's my goal. So I think it's good to know why you're at the show and to be really clear what the next step is. Again, might feel super obvious, but I think people go to the show, I got all these leads. Well, were you able to set up demos? Were you able to get people to download demos? Were you able to set up meetings? I don't know, whatever the next step is, make sure you got it in mind. We don't want to be pushy, but we do want to take the next steps.
Right. And I think, and this is probably leading into where you're going next, but
Go for
um,
it.
the purpose that we have for going there shouldn't have anything to do with the words and the messaging that we use to deliver our proposition to the people that we're seeking out, right? And
Exactly.
um, because that stuff needs to all be written and created and presented in the context of what's driving the customers. How do the customers measure themselves? How are they measured on the job? What makes them make a purchase decision? And I think that leads to the next point in where I think you want to go, Cindy, is,
Take
what's
it.
in it? What's their point? What is in it for them, right? That's what we need to talk about. And then if we that's what gets them there, that's what gets them engaged. And then we have to do what Cindy said just a minute ago, which is don't let it just sit there and go to waste. We spent all that good work. Now let's make sure we turn it into a relationship, and with any luck, a business relation, a
Ah, that's so true.
customer.
I definitely feel that thinking back to times that I've worked in the booth where later I'd get with somebody afterward. Oh, I had this great demo. I was there for an hour with this person. I got their card and like, do they have a budget? Do they have a plan? Did you set up a demo with them? No, I didn't. And so just making sure that everybody on staff is attuned to what the goal is. But then what you
Right,
just said, what's in it for me, not me, for the customer who comes into
right.
the booth, why are they attending? They're attending to solve a problem. And Steve, you have a great question that you always use when you talk with people in the booth. I love this so much.
Yeah, well, the question that I generally ask people when they come to the booth is, what do you like best about what you see here? And it is an open-ended question. They can't say no thank you to it, which is, you know, if we had a nickel for every time we've been asked anywhere in a retail environment, at a trade show or whatever, can I help you? And you've answered no thank you, we'd probably be rich. Um,
Sales 101,
so
don't ask a question they can say no to, right?
right, and what I love about that question is they have to think a little bit. They have to pick something from what they're looking at, and they're going to give you feedback, whether the feedback is positive or negative. They might say nothing, and then okay, fine, but that rarely happens. Usually they'll pick something out, and then you learn a little something about your messaging, about your product, about your value proposition. And I didn't know if you wanted me to tell that long story, but they can go to your interview on my podcast if they want to hear it.
Yeah, where you
I
talk
know
with
we
a
only have
famous person named
yeah,
Bill.
I talked to Bill Gates. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. We did not develop a business relationship. Let
But
me
you
just
asked
put
him
it
the
that way.
question. You
But
asked
I
him the
did ask him
question.
that question.
It's
I
so
said,
good. It's so
what
good.
do you
Oh my,
like best about
I
this
love it.
food?
Oh my God, Steve. All right. So we've talked about body language and
Yeah.
like clustering, not clustering the booth. And then we talked about point of view. Why am I at the show? really know why and take steps toward it. And point of view, why is the customer at the show? Because those things don't always match up. So your question's great.
Right,
I sometimes
right,
use the question like, what are the top two or three things you're solving
right.
here while you're at the show? It doesn't have to be anything to do with what I have here, but just tell me what you're looking to solve because I'm just trying to start a conversation. I
Yeah,
figure all
and if you get
marketing
that
starts a sales
converse,
conversation.
yeah, and if you get that conversation started, Cindy, and we talked about this the other day, um, then it's a great opportunity to ask them some serious questions about why they're there. We make assumptions leading up to all this. We've assumed that we've done the right market research, we've asked the right questions, talked to enough people. But now we have somebody right there having a conversation with us. And it's something you offered, when we talked the last time. This is a great time to ask them, you know, learn what is it about their problems that you can help with, that they think you might be able to help with, that they're not so sure you can help with. What's bugging them, and how much you fit in. So I think it's a great chance to start having questions that aren't telling them, oh, and then this product has this feature, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I think having those conversation starters is key because some people are super comfy talking in the booth. You, right? You're super easy
Yeah,
with it, but you gave a good
yeah,
differentiator when we chatted the other day. There's people who just aren't comfortable, and sometimes they're the
right,
booth staff who are maybe at the desk, or even if you have a small
right.
company, there's going to be a person or two who will be less comfortable versus someone else. It's not awesome either. So those are kind of two groups of people who you might be working with at a show who maybe need a little help and direction on, hey, let's be sure this is a conversation and find out why they're here and that kind of thing.
Yeah, at a trade show, many times, I like to think of most of our tech companies, all the ones I've worked with or worked at, have sort of a front of the house and the back of the house staff, right? And the back of the house staff might be accounting and bookkeeping, but they're not going to the show. But the people that actually make the things and and turn them into products that people can use, the stuff you're actually selling, those people, those brilliant people do go to the show. Their personalities are very much focused on solving technological problems, not on having business
Yeah,
success or conversations. So they're not comfortable in those environments.
they're
And
uncomfortable.
yeah, terribly uncomfortable. And so, you talked about this in our pre-chat the other day. Having this message, having your story clearer to everybody before you get there, and having a handoff methodology so these people know when they're getting uncomfortable or whatever, that there's somebody who can come and rescue them and take the customer over, and have that business conversation because they don't want to have it. They're
They don't want to
uncomfortable
have
with
it.
it. Yeah, right.
They don't want to have
So,
it.
so the more you can have that all sort of set up ahead of time, and I've done enough big booth trade show presentations to know that some of the people that were most essential to our success were the same people who the last thing on God's green earth they wanted was to have to talk to a customer. But the
Sure.
show didn't happen without them. So,
It's so
so,
true.
but I'd give them like five things to say, and when they ran out, they'd come find me.
Yeah. And for people who are nervous at the show, depending
Yeah,
on who they are and if they're comfortable with
yeah,
this, they could write 3 bullet points on their hand. So if someone's like, what's new at the show? One thing they can do is look at the graphic that hopefully you made
yeah,
for them that says, oh, what's new at the show
yeah,
is
right,
this, this, and this.
right.
Or look at my hand, this, and this. And then I want to share something that's worked really well with people in the booth who are um, brilliant and also would like a booth buddy. We actually would set booth buddies. So we'd set two
It's a
people.
great idea. Yep.
Ah, it works great. And so for one thing, you can do the basics. I'm going to lunch, you're going to stay here. So there's that. But more importantly is what you just talked about is the handoff. And so we're not going to put two similar skill sets together as a booth buddy potentially. We're instead going to put two people who are complementary together. So, oh, hey, someone came to me and I gave them a demo, and now I'm gonna just hand them off easily. Hey, so and so can answer your questions. Can we get a cup of coffee and talk about setting up a demo? Or vice versa. Someone comes to me, hey, I can give you the basics and a cup of coffee. Can I connect you with one of the design engineers who can dig in? So we're partners, we're booth buddies.
And all of this stuff we've been talking about can be boiled down into smaller versions or more compact versions for some of these small technology companies who really struggle going to a show because they're inventors and engineers, and they may not even have a whole lot of people in the company that
Couple people,
do
maybe.
business, and
Yeah,
so the more that they can kind of get that story straight, and assign, if there's only two people on the booth or three people assigned, different roles. I'll answer these questions, you answer those. Get that sort of figured out in advance. This makes the awkwardness go away a little bit.
I
Because
love that.
let's face it, I'm pretty outgoing, but you still everybody has a little stage fright and nervousness,
Yeah,
except
and
for the 2 minutes leading up to this webinar, I was fine.
you're so funny. A thing to remind your coworkers of in the booth who maybe are a little uncomfortable is people remember how you make them feel, not what you say.
Right.
So we've all
Right.
heard that, and it's true. And so
Yeah.
having a conversation starter where you get someone else talking because somebody wants to talk about what they're doing, and you don't have to just stop talking. If you feel like you don't know what to say, start the conversation and then listen so people remember how you make them feel, not what you're saying. And so this whole idea, some people in the booth, I don't want to bug anybody. I don't want to, just put that
One of the best
aside.
ways to not bug somebody is to listen to them.
Yeah,
You know,
that's so good. That's so good.
you know,
Let's talk about lead gathering. Oh, and you want to talk
yeah,
about clothes? Oh my gosh, so many fun things. So we
yeah.
got a few more things
Well,
to
yeah,
do here.
yeah. We got. I'll make it short. So you and I talked about this. I've had some booths where I had relatively large staffs, and it was a mix of sales and biz dev people and engineers, like we were just talking about, or
Hmm.
support people, or what
Yeah,
have you.
yeah,
Um, and there's everybody is really into polo shirts and booth wear and all that kind of stuff, and I'm all for getting the brand out, and I love the idea of the team and the camaraderie and the identifiability and all that sort of stuff. But my general rule of thumb was that the business people should look like business people, and the rest of the staff can be the sort of team members with the booth wear. And it served two purposes. And so the salespeople, they're wearing suits or a business outfit, depending if it's, you know, uh, if you're dealing with a lot of East Coast people, I would say more suit type of
yeah,
clothing.
yeah.
If you're dealing with West Coasters, it's a little more casual, but nevertheless, it's a very professional look, whatever that look is for you.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
and so the main purpose is the people who are doing business with customers have that good first impression and they look professional. And I really believe that that's an important part of establishing a good business relationship is, coming across as a professional when you meet.
Yeah,
Um,
you said you can't change your first impression, and I thought that
yeah,
was
right.
brilliant.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can never have a second first impression. So you get this one chance. And when I used to work in New York a lot, I'd go in with a coat and tie, and by the time I'd leave the demo, I usually just had rolled up shirt sleeves and a tie hanging down to here or something. But I always led with the best, which,
That's how you start
given
out.
the what you're starting with here, it's a challenge in and of itself. But nevertheless, um,
The
the other
second reason,
purpose,
though, I like
yeah,
best.
other purpose of this is it's not always busy at trade shows. And, we talked about clustering. So imagine if you have a mix of people in booth wear and you have bit mix and people in business attire, they can get in little groups of two and three with a mix of each and scatter themselves around the booth, and people will walk
You
by
look
and think
busy.
you're actually busy.
You look busy.
Every other booth is dead, but look at these guys. They're busy.
They're hopping. I totally had this. I was at the interview show in Japan, and the
Yeah.
the company they bought everybody these. metallic jackets to wear on the booth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so we're all wearing them and they're like super screaming shiny.
Totally Japanese. I love this. I
It
can
was so
just
fun. And
imagine it.
it was a cool jacket. And by the first morning, there was a meeting where we all stood in a circle and had the meeting, and there was a change, and half the people were to wear their jackets one day and half the next. And it's exactly
Uh,
to your point. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit on the suit
and
thing.
that's
On the one
great. Yeah.
hand, I love a suit, and sometimes I wear them, and on the other hand, I'm really for authenticity. And if your
Well, that's
vibe
great. Yeah.
yeah, if your
Yeah.
vibe and your brand and your company is not a suit wearing thing, you don't have
Then
to.
you're not
And
wearing suits.
so
Yeah.
that's the
Right.
cool
Yeah.
thing about Steve and I is we got some different opinions and different approaches.
Yeah.
And so I'm
And
like, yes,
90% of the time I
and
come on a Zoom, I wear a jacket and I'm wearing a sweater today.
yes,
So,
and right.
okay.
That's because I scared you. You didn't know about the video.
Yeah,
To be
right.
fair. To be fair, I
No,
do
that's
like
right.
I
I have
buy.
lots
I'm
of
not saying
jackets.
this is
Yeah.
the right thing,
Yeah.
but I'll often get like tailored shaped sportswear like this and
Right.
then I do the jack. Oh, hey, you know why my
Hey,
logo's
one.
over here?
Yeah.
You know, you know why my logo's on the left, right? I know you do. We got to
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
name tag on the right.
I was just gonna, there
Go
you
for
were.
it.
I
Go
was
for it.
just gonna go there.
Over to
No, no,
you.
you go. Well, because when you're shaking hands, you want them to be able to look and see your name. Hi, I'm Steve. Darn
This
glad to
is a
meet you.
question that I get every
Right,
show. Which
right.
side should my name tag be on? It's on the side where you're shaking hands.
That's right. And the great thing is we shake hands on the same side in Britain as we do in the US, so we don't
And
even have to.
even if you're not shaking hands, because we're not,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
still put it on that
Right.
side. And
And and there are things that are and I think all of you out there probably already know this, but culturally specific things. You when you were at Interview, no doubt you took every business card with both hands and
of course,
examined it and did not jam it into your pocket without
I did
looking at
not.
it because that's an incredibly rude thing to do.
But in any case, right,
Yeah.
name badge on the
Yep.
right side because that's how you shake hands.
Yep.
That question comes up every year, so that's a good
Yep.
one to know. Let's jump to oh, we still have more on the clothes. Well, we can circle back to it if we have time. I know you wanted to talk
Oh
shoes.
yeah. Well, I
Um,
did want to talk about shoes, comfortable shoes. You need to
comfortable
wear
shoes.
comfortable shoes.
Comfortable
And I
shoes.
always, I always, always have two pairs of shoes, and so
Oh,
I have
smart.
these fake sneakers, right? They look like they're dress shoes, but they're really more like
Yeah.
soft soled
Yeah.
sneakers. But I have two different pair and I alternate them every day because I find that your feet get worse if they're in the same shoe for 4 days straight. And so I usually, have my Monday, Wednesday shoes and my Tuesday, Thursday shoes,
I like
and
that.
and
I like that.
so those are two things. And now it
Smart.
sucks because shoes take up a lot of space in your luggage, but
No, it's a good idea. I like to do that too. I want to speak to women at trade shows for just 1 second since we're talking about this. So I remember going to a show and we thought, and there was literally three of us going to the show. And so we're like, we're gonna match. And we got polo shirts. And I put on my men's polo shirt and I thought, man, could you make me look worse? And I'm the one who thought this was a great idea. It's
yeah,
all
well,
me who did it. And I thought, well, lesson learned, never doing that again. And so what we did in future, and this goes to your point a little bit too, booth wear, instead of picking everything the same, I just would ask everybody, buy your own clothes, bring it in. The logo's going to be this color. So just pick something that works for this logo color for this stitching. And that way everybody could bring in their own clothes that they're super comfy with. The company
that's
would
a
still
great
pay for
idea.
it
Yeah,
and logo
that's a
up.
great idea. Yeah.
So, because women speak up and anybody, like if you're just not comfortable with the clothes that you're assigned, I feel like we don't need to be automatons and we could break out. So, a thought,
Yeah,
I
and
know it
some of the
depends on the
things, and I
company.
don't know if this is even fair, but when I've had to wear booth wear a few times, and it hasn't happened to me a lot, but it took me back to the days when I was in college and I worked at a supermarket and I wore this red, white, and blue polyester smock, and I wore it, and it just didn't make me feel good about myself.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about lead gathering and then we're
Yeah.
going to
And this
wrap
is
it up.
your sweet spot here, Cindy.
Yeah, lead gathering. Okay, so, and I've got a couple freebies I'm just going to pop into the chat here. One of them's a lead follow-up worksheet, and another one's a lead follow-up plan because trade show, got to have lead follow-up. So, lead gathering. So, collecting leads at the show. So, what to do? This is my least favorite. Can I scan your badge? That is my least favorite thing. So much better to, if you can, find out what they're interested in. If not, it's okay. You can say, oh my gosh, can I send you this really cool resource, this PDF, this thing, this, like the thing I put in the chat there? Can I send you this item? Great. Let me get your info. Now I can scan the badge, take their card, whatever. But instead of taking, we're giving. So think about the giving versus receiving. What can you give? What can you be of service? What can you do to help somebody? It feels a lot nicer.
Yeah, and you can even do that, I think, with requests for literature and other sorts of things like that. There have been um, studies done in Las Vegas on the amount of paper that doesn't make it out of the convention center and doesn't make it out of the hotels. And so, PDFs have saved the world from that perspective. But it creates a great opportunity for you to say, we didn't bring a whole lot of literature, or whatever the reason is. I would love to send that to you, because when they ask for, can I just get a brochure? Say, sure, I'll send it. I'd be happy to send it
Yeah.
to you, right?
Yes. Yes,
Love to,
definitely. Yeah.
anything I should, anything else I can send along with that when I'm putting it together, then you get a chance to probe a little more.
Exactly, exactly. And so it's nice if you can have something set up in an automated system, but it doesn't have to be automated that you're going to automatically send out maybe once you scan their badge or, oh, we set up some really cool stuff at NAB last year that was SMS. So it was a QR code and then it took them right to a text and all they did is put in a keyword. I think I've got something you could try. If you want to have the experience, text me the word dream and this will give
Yeah.
you my Dream 100 checklist. Dream 100 meaning the people you want to see at the show. So you text the word dream to me at 1-530-203-5703. If you're watching the replay, I'll put that in the show notes. And then you'll get the experience of what I'm talking about. It'll say, what's your email? And then it automatically sends this information to you. Dream 100, Steve, I know it's not really what to do and what not to do in the booth, but a little bit. The thought is if you only see 20 people at the show, if you
Right.
only see 100 people at the show, who are those people? Did you write their names down? Do you know who they are? Do the key booth staff know who they are if they come in so they can get you? And are you reaching out to them before the show and connecting to them on LinkedIn? So I'm veering a little bit into lead gen, but it's so tied into what you do in the booth.
Yeah, and I think they are inextricably tied together anyway. So,
Yes.
the thing that I think is great about the techniques you just talked about is anything we can do to remove the obstacles from creating that next step forward path makes creating a genuine relationship with somebody a lot easier, because, if it's a busy show, you get back from the show, you can't even sort through your leads and remember who's whom and what the context was. Whereas if you start a conversation right away, it's much easier to follow that thread all the way through. So I love the stuff that you just recommended, and I hope people take you up on these offers here, Cindy.
Tomorrow, same time, same bat channel, branding and how you can make your booth stand out at the show. I think my special guest expert just texted me. Yes,
All
yes.
right.
Dominique
Yay.
Gagnon. She's going to be my guest tomorrow. She texted during this thing right now to say she could do it.
Yeah.
She's building up boosts for the show. She's super busy, but we have ways to stand out at the show. Let me just recap what we did just now and see if there's any questions, and then we'll go from there. And if we don't get to your questions, we can always circle back to you offline as well if you've got questions. So recapping your body language, clustering, close, what to do, what not to do, conversation
How to
starters,
engage. Yeah, right.
how to
Yeah.
engage, lead gathering, what works well, and why you're at the show and why they're at the show, and really being clear on that
And focusing on the second one.
and focusing on the what's in it for me.
Right.
That's so good. That's so good. All right. Steve, what would you give someone like as the top takeaway from this? If you're going to do one thing in the booth or avoid one thing in the booth, like what would that thing be?
Oh boy, I think we just did it at the end there. Ask a good question.
Ask a good question.
the
All right. It's so good. It's so right.
the pen is the other. Keep your hands occupied. Obviously, that's my big thing from this show. But
That's so
I
good.
think find a good question to ask.
All right. What questions? Do we have questions in the chat? Anybody got questions? Here's a question. What's the worst mistake you ever made at a show? So many. So many, so many. I do have one
Oh,
though. Okay, so here's one. There's so many. It's just if we learn from our mistakes, right? So I'm at the show and I'm working, and the company I'd been working at had been really small and had kind of grown up, and people were taking on different roles over the years. And my excellent coworker, she was like so organized. She packed the leads from the show into the crate that was getting shipped to the office. And that meant I didn't have the leads from the show, except for what I personally had like written down, made note of, until the crates got shipped to the office and we could get them off the truck and get the Makita out and open the crate and get the leads out. So my
and
mistake
by
was,
then it was fall.
oh, my mistake was not being clear with my coworkers as to why we were there. So, but there's so many, but that's
Oh.
one of mine. And you don't have to reveal one, but what do you think? You got
No,
one?
but it did make me think of one, and it has nothing to do with trade being good at a trade show. It just has to being dumb with the crates, and that is one year we inadvertently and did not find this out until the next year because the crates sat in cold storage or hot storage in Las Vegas all year long. We packed a couple of sandwiches and pickles in a refrigerator in a crate. And when we opened that refrigerator, I think we evacuated the North Hall of the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's so good.
Oh, it
That's
was
so,
not a
so
good
good.
odor.
I love it. I love it. On that note, I think we should wrap it up. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank
I hope I
you.